Today we're going to be talking about metric units of length. Last week we were talking about customary units of length, and we knew that they were measured in inches, feet, yards, and miles. The nice thing about the metric system is we are no longer going to be using so many different measurements. We are just going to be using the standard unit, which is called a meter. Now, the essential question I'd like you to think about as we're going through this lesson is how can you scale metric units of measure? Now, to scale means to change the size without actually changing the value of the number. And that's what we're going to be doing with the metric units of measure. Now, the metric units of measure of length are the kilometer, the hectometer, the decameter, the meter, the decimeter, and the centimeter, and the millimeter. Now, we commonly remember this by saying King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate and milk. And the usually is a unit of measure. In this case, we have replaced that unit of measure with M, which is the meter, which is our basic unit of measure of length. Now, the most common metric units of lengths are millimeter, centimeter, meter, and the kilometer. Now, metric units of length. The basic unit of length in the metric system is the meter. Everything else is built around the meter. All of the other metric units of length are defined in terms of the meter. Let's see what that means. Let's take some of the common measurements. A millimeter, let's start with. The symbol for it is mm. So anytime you say mm, that means millimeter, the smallest measure of unit. Now, this actually is 1/1000th of a meter. Or in our decimal system, we see it as a lot of times as 1/1000th as a fraction. Now, the actual size of that, if you can envision a thickness of a dime, that would be the length of 1 millimeter. Centimeter. Centimeter symbol is cm, and it is one place value to the left of the millimeter, so that means it's 10 times more than a millimeter, and it is 1/100th. And if you were to take the width of a large paper clip, that would be approximately 1 centimeter. This is represented just by the M. It is actually 1 meter, and the average doorway is approximately 1 meter in width. Now, kilometer is represented by km. It is 1,000 meters. So if you took a meter stick and you put 1,000 end to end, you would have 1,000 meters. And if you also think about a track around a football field at a high school, you would have to run about 2.5 times around that track in order to get 1 kilometer. Now, let's take a look at metric units of length. 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. 1 meter also equals 1,000 millimeters. Now, instead of using these measurements like we did in customary in order to find multipliers and determine if we were going to multiply or divide, we're going to use a different process today, since it is a base 10 system. And we're just going to be scaling the unit up or down. Now, before we go any further, let's take a look and see if we have a good idea of what which unit of measures would be appropriate to use. How about the distance between cities? Let's say between Jacksonville, Florida, and Orlando. If you said the kilometer, you would be correct. How about the length of an ant? Millimeter would be best, because you remember, the smaller the unit of measure, the more accurate. If I said centimeter, almost every ant would be approximately 1 centimeter in length, so millimeter would be more appropriate. Now, how about the length of your math book? Yes, you would do that pretty much in centimeters. And the next two, the length of the hallway. Well, centimeter would be too small, so I think meters would be best. How about the height of a giraffe? Well, once again, since next step up would be a kilometer, there's no giraffe with a neck that long, so it'd be best to stick with meters. Now let's see how we're actually going to convert these measurements. Remember, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. And we're going to put meter as our basic unit of measure. Now I have a problem down below that says 1,000 meters equals so many kilometers. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger, indicated by the red dot, of what I'm trying to convert. In this case, it's meters. Next, I'm going to draw an arrow in the direction to what I'm trying to convert to. You see, I'm trying to convert to kilometers, so I've got my arrow going left all the way to the K. And that indicates the direction that I'm going to move my decimal. Next step is to count how many place values away our new destination is. So you can see that this is 1, 2, 3 positions. So I'm actually going to move my decimal 3 positions. Now, one of the misunderstandings I saw in class was that where does the decimal go on 1,000 meters? Well, if you remember your place value chart, 1,000 is a whole number. So the decimal would actually be at the end of the whole number. So it'd be at 1000 decimal, and you have unlimited zeros after that. But since it is a whole number, we just do not put the zeros or the decimal. But for our instance, we're going to put it right at the end of the zero, and we're going to move that decimal 3 positions to the left in the same direction as our arrow. And we would end up with 1 meter, 1 kilometer. And that kind of makes sense, because kilo meaning 1,000, that'd be 1,000 meters. Okay, let's try it again. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. We got our meter in there. And now I'm converting 40 millimeters to centimeters. I'm going to put my finger on the position that I'm converting from. I'm going to take my arrow in the direction that I'm converting to. I'm going to count how many place values I'm moving, well, in this case is 1. Then I'm going to move my decimal and have that many place values. So 40 millimeters becomes 4 centimeters. Let's try one more. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Meter. 3 meters equals so many centimeters. Put my dot on my meter. Take my arrow to the centimeter mark. I'm going to count the place values, which are 2. And I'm going to move my decimal, which is right after my 3, 2 positions to the right, give me 300 centimeters. Alright, let's do one more. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Meter. 4 centimeters to millimeters. Now this is one where some people get a little confused with the smaller ones. But still, if you use the diagram, placing the dot where you are, arrow showing where you're going, count how many place values, move your decimal that many place values, have 40 millimeters. Well, I hope this video helps you with the metric units. Here are 14 different conversions you can try in order to get better at the conversions. We will be using the exact same strategy when we're converting capacity and weight starting tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.